The first video I ever published on this channel counted down my top 5 Zelda games of all time. There are legendary titles in there: Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, Breath of the Wild, and with all the hype leading up to Tears of the Kingdom's release, I was wary of the actual experience itself. I expected it to be Breath of the Wild with some different features and quests mixed in. I expected it to be a 6 out of 10. I expected incorrectly. Tears of the Kingdom is so much more than I bargained for. So much more than I thought Nintendo could make out of this game. But if I was to remake my top 5 Zelda games video, where would Tears of the Kingdom factor in? Where would it land on the countdown, if at all? My answer may surprise you. This is my complete review of The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Before we hop into my full review, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. If you're a Zelda fan like me, you'll love my countdown videos and much more here on the channel. Thank you very much. And now back to my full review of The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. So I'll say this right off the top. Tears of the Kingdom has my favorite opening sequence of any Zelda game to date. It has my favorite closing sequence and final battle of any Zelda game to date. And what about everything in between? Well, that's pretty incredible too. Spoiler alert. Here is your warning. I'm going to be talking about the entire story in Tears of the Kingdom, and if you don't want that, or any other part of the game spoiled, shut the video off right now. With that said, let's dig into it. Right off the bat, Tears of the Kingdom tells you it's going to be different from any other game in the Legend of Zelda series. This game doesn't begin with Link waking up from a nap or a deep sleep. Now, in this one, he's already in the middle of exploring with the princess herself. This interactive opening is steeped in lore, and it's so rare in this series that we actually get to have one-on-one interactions, let alone a conversation with Princess Zelda. This opening, which involves Link and Zelda descending deep beneath Hyrule Castle, sets the stage for the entirety of this magnificent journey. Now, I won't explain every plot detail here. If you're watching this video, chances are you know the plot pretty well, but just to sum up, Link and Zelda stumble across a mural depicting an ancient people known as the Zonai, and then the trapped Demon King, Ganondorf, breaks free of this weird green hand that was holding him in place. The whole place crumbles, Zelda falls into a pit of something we don't figure out for many, many hours, and Link wakes up in the sky. You got all that? So this is when your typical Zelda tutorial section kicks into gear, and the game really gets underway. And again, I'm not going to cover every single detail of the plot here, but as this story develops over the next several dozens of hours, the lore of The Legend of Zelda is detailed in a way that we simply haven't seen in a game before. Characters in this game have personalities, true motivations, human emotions, and they feel like fully realized beings. They don't feel like typical NPCs in a video game. The people, creatures, and robots in this game are there with purpose. Every one of them, good or bad. Tears of the Kingdom's story is one that's cyclical in nature. Nearly everything comes full circle in the end. Heck, even look at the game's logo. It shows 2 circling dragons, which gives away the final battle in the game, but that's something you don't pick up on until the very end, of course. Let's take the first big plot point in the story, when Link fails to grab Zelda's hand as she falls after Ganondorf's revival. What's the very last thing you do in this game? You dive through the sky to grab Zelda's hand and save her for real this time. Let's look at Zelda's sacrifice, swallowing her secret stone only to be revived and returned to her original state by Rauru and Sonia. How about the original band of Hyrule's protectors, the one that could not defeat the Demon King? They're replaced in the very end by a new lineup of warriors, the ones that did finally take Ganondorf down. Revival is the overarching theme of Tears of the Kingdom. The revival of the Demon King, and then the revival of Hyrule itself as a kingdom bathed in prosperity and peace. As I said before, everyone in Tears of the Kingdom has a purpose, whether it's directly related to the main plot of the story or not. To me, that's one of the biggest differences between Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, or most other Zelda games for that matter. Every single character in Tears of the Kingdom has a reason for what they're doing. They have direction, they have meaning, every last one of them. From Koga, the master of the Yiga clan, preparing a weapon for Ganondorf himself, to the ancient Zonais, to Josha and Purah, everyone in Hyrule is there for a reason, and most of them are doing their part to work towards a common goal. As a result, the Kingdom of Hyrule feels more alive and interactive than in any other Legend of Zelda game. This Hyrule is leaps and bounds ahead of its counterparts in Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, for example. Side quests all serve a purpose as well, even if just to further develop Hyrule as a living, breathing world. Many of the side quests, though, stem off of the main plot, as Hyruleans far and wide are doing their part to decipher the mysteries abound. From tracking down the Demon King to discovering the locations of tears located around Hyrule to translating ancient texts, Hyruleans are doing their part to aid in the resurrection of their homeland. Link's abilities in Tears of the Kingdom are magnificent. Ultra Hand likely takes the trophy as the most creative, as you're able to build literally almost anything. But Fuse, the ability to fashion your own weapons, shields, arrows, and more, is incredible, and it allows for boundless discovery. Ascend largely gets you around that huge rain problem from Breath of the Wild, auto build saves you a ton of time when rebuilding stuff, and recall literally gives you power over time itself. And just like Breath of the Wild, Link gathers abilities from sages that stand by his side. Now granted, I would have loved to have Revali's Gale again, but his new sage abilities are pretty cool too. And since we're talking about sages, let's talk about the return of temples. Now this was a big point of contention in Breath of the Wild, as temples and dungeons were omitted in favor of shrines. Shrines are still present in Tears of the Kingdom, but temples make a return, and in a big, major way. The temple design in Tears of the Kingdom is likely the most creative in the entire series. They each follow the same trope of having to unlock 5 locks near each temple's entrance, but the uniqueness in each temple's design is simply astounding. These aren't your run-of-the-mill Zelda temples where you have to trek underground to a beautifully sculpted palace that has locked doors and keys hidden everywhere. No, these temples are built as part of the world around them. The Fire Temple, for example, is essentially a deluxe version of a mine inside the depths. And as it happens, that temple may be my favorite one in Zelda history. It's that cool. The Wind, Water, and Lightning temples all pose their own unique challenges with creative twists and turns among their designs. They're all beautifully crafted dungeons with creative boss fights. So I mentioned the depths, and that's the perfect segue to talk over the sheer size and scope of this map. It's nearly 3 times the size of Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild was huge. The sky alone would be a tremendous addition to this game, but the depths are simply breathtaking. The level of this map, living well below Hyrule, is basically the size of an entirely separate game. The depths are dark, brooding, terrifying, mysterious, and frankly dangerous. It's potentially the most significant addition to a Zelda game in decades. Whatever the next title in this series ends up being, I hope a version of the depths is still present in some shape or form. And I saved this part for near to the end on purpose. Nintendo absolutely nailed the final battle with Ganondorf and everything leading up to it. I was so jaded by the anticlimactic ending to Breath of the Wild that I was expecting the worst as Tears of the Kingdom unfolded. After fighting what seemed like 100 Phantom Ganons in the sanctum of Hyrule Castle, and seeing the cutscene where Ganondorf appeared before us, I was sure that we were going to be rushed right into the final battle. But we weren't. Nintendo took its time with this last leg of the story, and they let it breathe and develop just like it needed to. We needed Mineru's help. We needed Purah to lead the investigation into the depths further so we could pinpoint where exactly Ganondorf was waiting. It was such a relief and a delight to see the story grow and mature to the point where it felt like a true peak when we dove beneath the castle to find the Demon King. And even then, it wasn't like we just dove right into his lair. We had to find our way through the gloom-soaked depths, and when we thought we'd found him, Link's army of sages was taken away. We had to dive deeper, literally. And then, when it looked like it was over, Ganondorf sent his army after us. And as our sages returned to our side, we commenced an incredible battle before finally coming face to face with the great evil villain. The battle with Ganondorf is the best in Zelda history. It happens in stages, of course, and the second stage smacks you right in the face as you see his life bar grow and grow and grow. My jaw was on the floor. Ganondorf is skilled, scary, and a very, very worthy opponent. He feels like a final boss. Defeating him in the second stage feels like the end of the game, and yet, it's not. Ganondorf swallows his secret stone, making the same exact sacrifice as Zelda did, but for the wrong reasons, and it backfires as a result. And this kicks off the true final battle of the game, but this stage gives a completely different feel. This final stage is not a hard-fought battle. It's not a bitter, raging fight. This stage has a peaceful air of inevitability surrounding it. It's the most tranquil final battle that I can ever remember fighting, and it perfectly fits the arc of the game. The music, which, by the way, the entire soundtrack is simply gorgeous. But the music in this final battle becomes somber, and you almost feel bad for Ganondorf. He's lost himself. He's become a soulless creature, and it's your job as the already determined victor of this fight to put him down. Link's encounter with the demon dragon is so beautifully put together and different from any other final battle in a Zelda game. Here, the fight is already won, and Ganondorf's desperation in swallowing his stone proves that he knew it too. I think the biggest takeaway for me from Tears of the Kingdom is that it truly felt like a Zelda game again. I really enjoyed Breath of the Wild, but it didn't feel like a Zelda game at its core. It felt like an adventure game that had a Zelda skin slapped on top of it. Tears of the Kingdom is so richly steeped in Zelda lore and history, with vibrant characters, dark temples, beautifully crafted villains, and an emotional story that simply cannot be missed, that you can't help but feel engulfed in this enchanting iteration of Hyrule Kingdom. There are 3 titles in the Legend of Zelda series that have made an immediate impact on me and stuck with me. Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, and the third is Tears of the Kingdom. And here's the thing with this game. It's better than Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time. Nintendo has never gone this far in terms of gameplay, story, engagement, battle quality, tempo quality, and overall experience. I have zero hesitation in saying that Tears of the Kingdom is the best Legend of Zelda game to date. Period. This game is Nintendo's masterpiece. Playing Tears of the Kingdom has brought me back to the feeling I had in 1998 playing Ocarina of Time for the first time. It's the kind of game that continually makes you say, wow, or oh my gosh. Simply put, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is beautiful. Objectively beautiful. And whether you're a Zelda fan or not, it's a must-play for anyone with a Switch controller in their hands. Hey, did you enjoy this video? Did you agree or disagree with any of my thoughts or opinions? Feel free to leave a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It's the best way to keep this channel alive and flourishing. Thank you all so very much. I am the Zap-Zap Man, and I will see you next time.